Hi, this is Trey Passer. Welcome to another reaction to a Mr. Nightmare story. This is four bone-chilling true Hollywood, not true Hollywood, true Halloween stories. Okay, sorry, I had to lower the camera. I'm filming this with my iPhone because if I lower it up a bit, make it the normal way, I had to angle it a little bit because the glare from the light is just absolutely ridiculous. The 100 light bulbs I have. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. Let's get right to it, and I'll be right back. Okay, let me put my headphones in. Okay. Here we go. Here we go right now. Go. Halloween horror stories. Just in time for Halloween. Okay. Story one.
My group of friends and I went to a local county haunted house attraction. It was by the edge of town. It opened every October of every year. It sat right by the woods appropriately and had 3 attractions: the main haunted house, a corn maze, and a haunted trail through the woods. I guess I'll name my friends now: Rod, James, and Bud. That's not his real name, that's just his nickname. We started with the haunted house, which was decently high quality and had a few good scares. Then we made our way to the corn maze. It started out kind of slow, just a lot of turns through the corn we'd have to make. But then the scary antics began. A guy dressed as a freaky scarecrow man emerged from the corn and screamed at us, causing us to scream as well. He started to chase after us, and we ran. I was in the back, of course, and the scarecrow was right behind me. Even knowing it's just a paid actor, you have this innate fear of something chasing after you where you just feel like you have to run away.
I understand.
Somehow, through the thrill of running away through the corn, I lost all of my friends. It seemed like all of us ran in different directions. I lost the scarecrow man, though, and got back to the trail between the crops. This is where the nightmare began. I called and yelled and screamed for my friends as I made wrong turn after wrong turn. They never called back. In fact, it seemed there were no other visitors in sight. I had to finish the maze by myself. What choice did I have? I walked and walked for what felt like 20 minutes, then I heard bustling in the corn in front of me. I slowed my pace and kind of tiptoed past the noise, but it was pointless. Something reached out from the corn and grabbed my wrist and squeezed it tight. I actually cried out in pain and yelled, "Stop, you're hurting me." I was actually in shock how hard this paid actor was squeezing my wrist. Then he tried pulling me into the crops. I didn't see who it was. I just saw his hand and arm, covered by a black coat sleeve and black glove. I yanked myself out from the grip and backed away as the actor came out from the crops into the path. He was wearing a heavy winter coat, black jeans, and a blank black face mask. I didn't know what the costume was supposed to be, but I literally yelled, "Go fuck yourself, you actually hurt me." He started running at me, and naturally I turned and ran as fast as I could through the corn to lose him. I yelled back, "I'm reporting you," and I quickly lost him. After 5 minutes of running straight through the corn as opposed to following the maze of trails, I came to the edge of the maze and went to find an employee. I reported the actor to the employee, saying he used way too much force to the point that my wrist actually hurt. The employee said he wasn't sure who was wearing the specific costume I described, but that he'd look into it. I thanked him, and then I looked at my phone. I had a missed call from James. I called him back to ask where the 3 of them were. He said they tried finding me, then they gave up and went to the haunted trail in the woods. I said I'd meet them and hung up. I walked over to the start of the trail, where they had the Halloween ambiance blasting through a bunch of speakers placed throughout. I stepped into the woods, feeling like I was the only one around besides my friends. I tried playing catch-up to my friends, when I stopped in my tracks after spotting him again, blocking the path. It was the guy in the coat and black mask. He didn't even give me time to react or say something. Right away, he started legit charging full speed at me. I turned right and ran into the woods, expecting to lose him easier. This time I called back, "I'm calling the police." I wasn't actually, but I thought that might get this guy to just leave me alone. I ran deeper into the woods until I didn't hear him chasing me anymore. Then I sat down on the root of a tree to catch my breath. I had time to think, and one of my thoughts was, did that guy really follow me from the corn maze to here? Then I heard footsteps approaching, and of course, at that exact moment, my iPhone started ringing. I silenced my phone, but now the footsteps had
Jesus.
stopped. I pushed myself up off the root quietly and leaned to the side to get a view past the tree. It looked clear. I started to run back towards the path of the attraction and immediately spotted him to my right. I said to myself, fuck it. I stopped and told him I'm suing the place because of him. But he didn't stop running at me. He got to me and pushed me to the floor. I didn't expect it. I was once again in shock. I got back up as fast as I could before he could get on top of me and booked it. He chased me, but when I got back to the path towards the entrance of the attraction, he stopped and turned around.
Jeez.
I went straight to the little front office shack and asked for a manager. Some older guy greeted me, and I told him about the guy who was chasing me and attacking me. The man said they didn't have any actors wearing that specific attire, so he called the police, and eventually I got my friends to meet me where I was. I stayed to describe the happening to the police when they showed up. I didn't have any marks to show them, but they still took a report and the place was closed for the night. We all went home after that. I haven't been to any haunted attractions
I don't blame
since.
It's probably some dude, sick dude, just wanting to mess with some person. That's what it probably was. Story 2.
The year I turned 13, my friend invited me and 2 other friends to stay at his house on Halloween night. He had a fairly large house outside of our town, and it was the perfect place to go trick-or-treating. We decided it would be cool to go now to get sweets for a movie. So fast forward, we were near the end of our trick-or-treating, and at one house, a woman answered the door. She was tall and skinny with shoulder-length hair. Her house was disgusting. We could smell the odor of cigarettes from inside. She was quick to tell us that there were no more sweets left. However, she could go try to find something for us. After a couple minutes of waiting, she comes back with an old brown paper bag with old-looking candy inside. We kindly deny the bag and tell her we're getting picked up, so we better go. She grabs one of my friends and says, "No, please." But my friend pulls away from her, and then she quickly shuts the door.
That's freaky.
We knocked on a few more houses before hearing something going on near the parking lot of the housing complex. Someone exclaims, "They took my child, they took her, they took her."
What?
It was her, that woman. And that was my friend's parents' car that she was banging on. She was throwing herself at the car and hitting it with her fists. A couple of neighbors came out due to the commotion. They seemed to know who she was. They apologized to us and said it was a big misunderstanding. We quickly got into the car, and my friend's mom started driving us out. But we don't get far before the woman jumps in front of the car, claiming one of us was her child. The neighbors once again pulled her away. It was later that night, however, when things truly began. We stayed up late like any teenagers do at sleepovers, and we watched some scary movies. Out of nowhere, the light turned on in the hall. We could see it under the closed door of the bedroom. We assumed it was my friend's parents who were about to come in to tell us to get some sleep. However, no one came in. I decided to have a peep out the door. Nothing at all. My friends joined me to see why the lights suddenly turned on. Out of nowhere, my friend says, "It's her."
Man.
And through a large window facing the backyard, we see that woman standing there, looking in. However, the second she saw us stare at her, she ran away. Disturbed by this, we came back inside the bedroom and
called
locked
the police.
door. We were obviously quite shaken up by this. Who is she? What does she want? We sat around for an hour, nervous, on high alert.
Police.
However, we eventually did somehow manage to fall asleep. That morning, my friend's mom told us the situation at the housing complex shook her up so much that she thought she had seen that woman standing over her bed in the middle of the night. My friends and I never even told her we saw that woman at the house that night, which led us to wonder, what if, just maybe what if, that woman actually was inside the house that night?
Probably was. Should have called the cops. That's too freaky. Story number 3.
Last year, Halloween was on a Wednesday, and because of that, I was home alone. My dad works nights, and my mom was staying with her sister because our parents weren't getting along at the time. My sister was away at college, so it was just me, left to provide for the trick-or-treaters. My dad bought a couple bags of Kit Kats and told me he expected them empty by the end of the night. I don't know why, but my dad takes Halloween seriously. I didn't get home from classes until around 6, so it was already dark and the kids were out in droves. The second I dropped my bag on the couch, the bell rang, and that went on for some hours. I was getting homework done later on in the night when the trick-or-treaters had mostly gone home. It was sometime past 9 though, I remember that much, and the doorbell rang once more. It was the first time in over half an hour. I went to open the door with a near-empty bowl of Kit Kats, expecting some kids, but instead it was just this lone guy, maybe 35 years old. He waved at me with a neutral expression on his face. I didn't open the storm door. I kind of just watched him, ready to shut the door on him. He stopped waving, then reached for the handle to the storm door and pulled it open. At that moment, I slammed the door shut in his face and locked it. I texted my family group chat that some old guy just tried opening the door. My dad joked that if he does it again, go outside and teach him a lesson. I decided that was it with opening the door for the night. I went back up to my room to finish my homework. Soon, I heard yelling coming from outside. I lost my patience and eventually got up to see what was going on. I slid open my window and looked down. There was that man again down below, looking up at my window, shouting at me. He was mainly yelling that he needed help finding his son. I didn't believe him for a second. I texted my family again. My dad just said, ignore it, he'll go away. I left my room and shut off the light so that he'd go away. Then I went to the basement, which had no windows. I hung out down there to do my work, and all was quiet for a while. Then, flick, the power went out. My initial thought, that man outside tinkered with the electric box outside of the house. I stayed in contact with my family the whole time. After a few minutes, I heard the floorboards creaking above my head.
Call the cops.
Someone, as if I couldn't guess who, was inside the house.
Call the cops.
My mom, dad, and sister all texted me to call the cops. I stayed put in the basement as it was the safest place at this point. The cops were en route. All I had to do was wait. The basement door then opened, and we stepped down the stairs, only halfway though. Even without power, a little bit of light from the upstairs poured into the basement, enough for me to see his legs. He was standing on the middle step of the staircase. And I swear, he just stood there for like 2 minutes.
Jesus.
I heard him mumbling stuff. I won't even pretend I could understand any of it. After the longest, most painfully uncomfortable moment of my life, the man said into the basement, I can see you. The whole time, his legs were actually facing me.
Jeez.
Was he actually looking at me that whole time? Still, I didn't move, nor did he. He continued to stand there until there was a bang at the front door. Then he walked up the stairs, shut the door, and I heard creaking above again. I waited 20 seconds before running upstairs to the front door. By that time, it seemed the man had left my house, because the cops couldn't find him, even with my help. Stupidly, I left the back door unlocked, so he simply let himself in. As for the power, he messed with the electric box outside, as I predicted. I don't know if he did this on Halloween intentionally, or if it was just a coincidence, but something was wrong with that man. He didn't belong out in the streets.
You should have called the cops a long time ago. Way too long, way too long. Could have got dangerous. Story 4.
Halloween night. I don't know what year it was, but it was probably like 4 years ago, and it was a Saturday. I'll keep this short and to the point. My friend Tanner and I were set on doing something scary that night, and that ended up being a visit to the abandoned house way up the road from our campus. It was at the top of the hill, and some students referred to it as the Blair Witch House, simply because it sat all by itself on an enclosed property, and it had been abandoned for years. So, come 10 o'clock, Tanner drove us all the way up the road and parked his car in the dirt outside of the property. We walked up the hill to the house, and even just seeing the unlit house standing in the dark gave me goosebumps. We both came with backpacks full of tools, like flashlights, knives just in case, and he even brought a crowbar. Surprisingly, he didn't need it though, because the front door was already cracked open. This is where the flashlights came in, because of course the inside was as dark as it gets. The house seemed to be scrapped for just about everything because nothing was left except junk. Nothing very exciting. Then there was a thump from upstairs. Tanner and I looked at each other, and we agreed to go upstairs and check it out. He led the way up the stairs, which were extremely rickety. We got to the top, and there was a small hall with 3 doors. We passed the first room, which was a tiny bedroom with an old collapsed bed frame still in there. There was a second door on the left. This one led to an empty bathroom. There was one more door, this one on the right of the hall. We stepped inside. This bedroom was definitely the master bedroom. There was a bed frame sitting in the center of the room still. There was once carpet on this wood floor, which had apparently been ripped away over the years. We stepped fully inside the room, looking for what could have made the thumping sound. And then, bang. The door to the room slammed shut, and there was suddenly a white flash that filled the room. Then another. It seemed like camera flashes. Tanner screamed and opened the door back up to flee the room. I did the same. Neither of us looked for whoever was in there with us. In the moment, we were way too scared. We ran back to the car, and Tanner drove us back to campus. A week later, Tanner sent me a picture through text. He was holding a photograph in the picture. It was of the 2 of us in that bedroom of the house. He said they were left under his windshield wiper in the parking lot of our dorm building. I told him throw them away and park somewhere else from now on. We only told a few close friends about this, and we never went near that house again.
Oh, man. What happened to the knives? You brought the knives in. Obviously, there was somebody in the house taking pictures. But... Okay. Those are okay stories. Okay. So. Okay. Now, let's see. Story number 1. Okay. That reminds me of sort of the movie from, not from Hell, Hellfest, where the guy, the psycho was following the people around and stuff. Yeah, like I said, there's always some freak, like I said, that doesn't really work there, that's just actually just wants to freak somebody out. And it sounded like that's what that guy was. He was just wearing a mask and running around and just messing with you specifically because he caught you by yourself. And, and you don't know that he actually works in the park. He was probably he wanted to screw around with you. And, the guy running at you and all that stuff like that, because he did that because you were by yourself. And if you were with your friends and stuff, then you could have beat this dude's ass because this dude was obviously trying to mess with you, and obviously he did because he kept following you around and stuff, and and just that's more believable. He gets somebody that's that's going to go to a horror show and wants to take it seriously and really mess with the people and really mess, and he specifically targeted you because you were by yourself, which is really messed up. And that guy, I only wish your friends would have been with you so that way y'all could have caught him and jumped him and beat the crap out of him. Because obviously he wanted to scare you, and he obviously did, and shoving you around and stuff and coming at you like that. The guy obviously was, out of his mind or something, or just wanted to mess with you on purpose. There's sick guys out there just wants to mess with somebody. Okay, so and then the second story with the woman coming in the house, that was freaky. Okay, that was obviously she's a very sick woman, and the fact that she followed you back to your house, obviously she has mental issues, and the fact that she's following you, coming back to your house and stuff. And I don't know if she had a kid and the kid died maybe years ago. And so it drove her crazy and she's kind of psycho. And then you should have told your mom that, and the parents that woman was in the house because you actually saw her around the house, and you should have immediately called the cops to have her put away because obviously she's a danger to other people. She's actually going around and actually coming in people's houses and stuff. And the fact that the neighbors had to grab her and bring her back shows that she's out of control, and she should probably be locked up somewhere instead of allowed to roam free because obviously she got issues. And the third story with the guy, and your father wasn't taking this, with the guy coming into your house, like an adult, saying he's looking, he's screaming outside the house, and he actually breaks into your house and saying you're hiding in the basement. Okay, and just come on, that could have ended really tragically. You should have called the cops right away. As soon as he was outside your house, when you slammed the door on him, you should immediately call the cops. Exactly. You waited way too long, and your parents obviously your father didn't take it seriously, which could have ended really badly in your case. Okay, that's just messed up. The fact that father didn't take it to go outside and teach him a lesson. Are you freaking crazy? This could be a potential psycho. You want me to go outside and teach him a lesson? Okay, yeah, get out of here. Like I said, they didn't take it seriously, and that could have ended tragically. He actually broke into your house. He actually messed with the electrical and broke into your house. And suppose he would have caught you. Suppose he would have actually went all the way down and found you in the basement and hurt you or killed you. You know, I guess your father would have been regretting that, you know, giving you that lousy advice. Okay, he should have told you to call the cops and tell you that he's on his way home. That's what he should have told you. When you got a fully adult man outside your house screaming stuff at you and trying to break into your house and stuff. Come on, that calls for the cops, and it calls for your father to take that seriously. Because so that's messed up. The father didn't take it seriously, because that could have ended really tragically for you. And then the last story, obviously that was somebody in the house. Obviously, I would say I was going to say a homeless guy, but homeless guy ain't gonna have no camera and ain't gonna take pictures of you. Obviously, that was maybe somebody from the school, maybe somebody else playing a prank on you, or knew that you were going there, or just guys are just in there, you know, because that's like a legend and stuff. And maybe they were just in there and just decided, oh, and then they heard you, heard you creep up the stairs with you and your friend, and took those pictures real quickly, you know, and obviously they followed you back to the campus and put those pictures underneath your friend's car. So obviously that was probably somebody that went to the school and probably was just had the same idea of you as you did and your friend, just to go to this abandoned house and look around and stuff. And then he heard y'all coming to the house, and because it could have been more than one guy up there, it could have been maybe a couple of guys up there in the dark. And as soon as you came in the room, said, you know what, I'm gonna wait for this guy to come in, and I'm gonna take a picture and freak him out, and then put him, you know, exactly, which I can believe. So I think the scariest story out of all those, if I had to, I'd say the first story, because you don't know. I think that sorry about that. I got interrupted in there, but so obviously the second, the uh, the first, you know, you don't know if this guy. The first story, that guy is really psycho for real, and he's he's targeting you and potentially could kill you or hurt you seriously. It could hurt you, you know, because you don't know how far he's going to take it. You know, he's targeting you specifically, and that could have ended tragically. So I think that's the scariest story out of those four. Okay, the psycho woman, you could have like called the cops on her, really, when she obviously when you first saw the light and you saw her outside, I should have called the cops immediately. And the third story, the father was an idiot by not telling your son to call the cops immediately when you see the guy outside your house and he's screaming and stuff, and then he's breaking into the house. You should have called the cops immediately. Okay. Anyway, and then the fourth story is, like I said, it's probably a college thing prank, and the guys probably was pranking you, or they either followed you there, or they were in the house before you and saw you come in, and that's why they took the pictures, just to freak you out and all that stuff. So, but again, the first story is the best. Anyway, let me know what you think of this Mr. Nightmare story. 4 true horror stories, four, I forgot what they call it, 4 terror stories for Halloween, which were actually pretty good, actually. So let me know what you think of these stories. I'll leave a link to Mr. Nightmare's channel in the description box so you can check it out for yourself. I have also links to my social media in the description box: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I also have a link to my other channels, Bob Views and Opinions. Please check this out as well. And this is Trey Pastor saying so long and take care.